Hello. Today we're in the Informative Literary Analytical Writing packet, and we're going to look at essential question number 5, what kind of voice will be most effective in this form of writing? We're looking at creating a voice in our writing. We're in the style section, and so we're going to be looking into style number 3, to use position phrases and clauses within a variety of sentence patterns among simple, compound, complex, and compound complex. Keep in mind, this is learning target number 3, but the notes I'm getting from are from an old packet, and so this old packet is a different target number. So just disregard the number, but get these notes in under learning target number 3 for us. And please go ahead and date it today's date as well. So use and position phrases and clauses with a variety of sentence patterns and structures. We've talked a lot about phrases and clauses and types of sentences over the course of the year so far. Remember that a clause is a group of words that has a subject and a verb. For some reason, clauses confuse people simply because when we think of clauses, we're like, well, if it has a subject and a verb, then it must be just a sentence. No, that's not the case. Independent clauses contain a subject and verb and are a complete thought, and they can stand alone. So you will sometimes see one of them by itself, and you would say, yes, an independent clause in that case is one simple sentence. However, we can join together clauses to make more compound and compound complex sentence types, which is why a clause and a sentence aren't necessarily the same thing. The other reason they're not necessarily the same thing is because we have these things called dependent clauses, which are clauses that still have that subject and verb, but because they contain some sort of subordinating word, or the subject itself is the subordinating word, that makes it not a complete thought. It leaves you hanging when you listen to them being read out loud. So clauses create our sentences. They create the simple, compound, and compound complex sentence types. Phrases, on the other hand, add description to our sentences. Phrases are a group of words that function together as one job in the sentence. So because they have one job or one function, that means they become a new part of speech when they're used. Remember, phrases are different than clauses in that they don't have a subject and verb, and that they cannot ever stand alone. There's no such thing as an independent phrase. Phrases always need to be put into sentences. And then they would serve the job as either an adjective, adverb, or noun. So I know that in the past, when we've looked at clauses and phrases, we've been given questions that are a little different than this one. In the last 9 weeks, we looked at a question that said, what is the following underlying clause functioning as? A noun, adjective, adverb, or whatever. Those clause questions are quite challenging. And honestly, I do not value them as much as this kind of clause question, which hopefully this kind of clause question will be the one you're more likely to see whenever you take assessments. Because this clause question makes sense to me a little bit more. Simply because knowing parts of speech doesn't necessarily make you a good writer, but knowing the reason for why we're using clauses is definitely a skill that good writers know, which is why I prefer this type of sentence. So let's do a practice with this type of question. Read the sentence. Caroline was excited to visit the school where her friend Thomas attends, so she could compare his classes to hers. Which statement best explains the function of the underlying clause in the sentence? Is it A, the clause shows why Thomas and Caroline are friends? Is it B, the clause tells how Thomas is connected to Caroline? Is it C, the clause clarifies which school Caroline will visit? Or is it D, the clause explains why Thomas is attending the school? Go ahead and pick the choice you think is the correct one. With this sentence style, we're looking at the function of the clause as it pertains to serving one of these jobs. We look at where her friend Thomas attends. as a clause, we have where is the subordinating word, Thomas is the subject, and attends is the verb, which is those three features is what make it a dependent clause. The correct answer for this one is in fact C. The clause clarifies which school Caroline will visit. Let's look at this one. So here's the clause where her friend Thomas attends. If we're looking at the function as being to help clarify which school Caroline will visit, what is the other function of this clause? Is it as an adjective? Is it as a noun? Or is it as an adverb? Go ahead and select which choice you think it is. So in this case, not only is it obviously clarifying which school Caroline will visit, school, we know school is a noun. So this whole clause is describing the specific school, which means it's functioning also as an adjective. Know that those are the two types of styles of questions that you will see on our next unit assessment, as well as the state exam. So make sure you know your parts of speech, as well as make sure you know and think about the purpose that a clause is serving, the function. If we look at these four choices and we see that why Thomas and Caroline are friends, it doesn't necessarily tie in because of the word attends. If we look at the second option and it says how Thomas is connected to Caroline, we don't see that. When we look at which school Caroline will visit, definitely that clue word is attends to help us know that this one is the correct answer. When we look at the one word that's after that, which is probably the most likely distractor, why Thomas is attending the school, simply because the word attending is in fact in it. But the clue word here is why. It doesn't tell us why Thomas is attending the school at all within this specific clause. Keep in mind the answer choice you should pick should only be found within the details of the clause itself as well. So you use clauses and phrases within your writing, but make sure you do so with purpose. Know the reason why that clause fits within your sentence writing, so that way you can have more detail and make more creative sentence styles. Go ahead, continue practicing this in some type 1 responses.